So this is our mise en place with the recipe. What you see here is the Sri Lankan spice on the bottom right. So this is our dough for the paratha. Simply take regular AP flour. I would prefer to use wheat flour, but we didn't have any in the kitchen, so we used AP flour. Some spices in it, chili, garam masala, and garlic powder. Little oil to make it flaky. We're just gonna crumble it together. Some vegetable stock in the back. So what you want to do is mix it all together and get it to a crumbling state. You can see I'm seeing how crumbly it is. So I was happy with that, so I added a few drops of water just to kind of help me make a well in the middle. And then I add more stock. And we just make a dough. It's not super fancy dough, it doesn't have to be perfect though. Remember this, that we are gonna turn this into a roti and then slice it and then stir fry it. So it doesn't have to be very glutinous, it doesn't have to taste too good. The taste will come from the sauce, the spices that we add at the end. So just gonna get it all together, work the gluten a little bit. Shouldn't take more than 3-4 minutes at the max to get this done. If you have a mixer, feel free to use it. I prefer to be old school and use my hands. So there's another tip I could give you, is that instead of dropping water into it, just add water to your tips or your knuckle. This will give more moisture to your dough without you overdoing the water into it. So you can see it's all coming together, holding its shape. And really that's all we want. Once that's done, we're going to put a little oil on it, cover it and wrap it. So we're going to let the gluten rest a little bit. Just getting into a perfect bowl shape. So this is our Sri Lankan spice mix. I already had coriander and cumin powder already made, so I didn't add coriander seeds and cumin seeds to this mix. But yes, it will have coriander seeds in there as well. The recipes will be at the end of the video. And feel free to be on our website. Soon we'll be posting them up there as well. So you want them to get brown like that before you grind them. Just sanitizing a table so that we can get our parathas made. So what we saw before at the beginning of the video, the mise en place wasn't complete. It was just getting stuff all together. We still had to prep all of that stuff. It's a good habit to get into, getting these done and then cooking. It will save you the trouble of running around grabbing stuff while your food is burning on the stovetop. So this is the dough I made last night. Just a little flour just so it doesn't get too sticky. So like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. The portioning doesn't have to be right. It just needs to be a paratha really. So I got 5. My recipe has 3 in it. I think 3 gives you a decent amount of food. I mean, this thing gets very heavy. especially because I didn't use a traditional recipe where they use cabbage and I used stir-fry mix. And this food does get very heavy. Um, it's like a proper meal in itself. So just make little bowls, just like you would do for a regular bun, if you ever made those. Once those are ready, we're gonna cover them so that they don't dry out. And grab a rolling pin. And get rolling. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect round shape. I'm gonna make one the way that we make in India, the parathas. You could use any fat you want in there. I used oil. So it's basically putting oil, helping it stick together, making folds on it so that it turns into a flaky roti basically. So once you roll this out, and you cook it, and you put a little fat on it to just kind of pan fry it, it will turn into a flaky roti, and then you just slice it. Where you can see I don't really care what shape it comes out in, because it really doesn't matter. You don't have to do this step where you're folding it on itself. You can just make a simple roti and just use that. This was just me trying to give you a little extra tip. So once it's rolled out, I'm just going to put it on the pan. Just making sure all the ends are meeting the pan surface. The pan was really hot. I could feel the heat coming out. That's why you see me taking my hand back so quickly. So again, just because it's an AP flour, it takes longer for it to cook. If it was wheat flour, it would cook a lot faster. And then we're going to just sprinkle some oil on top. And we're going to get it crispy. The skin has to be crispy, it doesn't have to cook all the way through. You see how it's turning brown? And that's what we want on most of the paratha. That's the perfect scene that you want on your paratha, to have these little speckles of crispiness on it. Once that's done, you're going to take it off the heat, and I'll finish the rest off camera. And we'll meet in a few seconds. So the spices are cooled down by then, hopefully, should be cooled down by then. We're just going to add it to a spice grinder and grind it to a spice. I always pulse it, that's a habit of mine, you don't have to pulse it. So once it's ground, it should look like this. Basically like a spice powder, if you ever seen any.
So once your parathas are all done, I'm going to show you a few different ways of cutting it. You can cut it like this. This paratha was really hot. I didn't want it to burn my hand, so I used a towel. So these are cut into thin slices. You can cut them in any slices you want. You want them thicker, you can cut them thicker. You want them thinner, you can want thinner. And there's the other way of doing it. You just slice it halfway and just go ham on it. Those two were the thinner cuts and this was the thicker cut. Onion, we're gonna slice it. So this, at this point, we are getting our meats prepped out. I just don't like the root. You can have the root in there if you want. So this is our finished meats. The equipments we need, everything in there. The scallions can be chopped in any way you want. I did half in circles. And again, it has to be just a butcher's cut. It doesn't have to be exact cut. It's a street food. And then I slice some lengthwise. They're called Hong Kong scallions cuts. These are just for garnishing. And then the white part I cut into halves, into fours basically, lengthwise, just to give a little extra pop to the stir fry mix. Now this dish is really spicy. You can change the spice level according to what you want. I added extra spice into it because I just like it spicy. That's how I remember. That's how I always seen the Sri Lankan chef in Australia cook it. Short rib, you just want to break it. It's an 8-ounce short rib. The other thing to remember is the 8 ounce is not cooked portion, it's uncooked portion. 3 eggs. You can beat them if you want. I decided not to beat them. It doesn't really make any difference. You're still going to make a scramble. Again, that's a good part about the street food. That's our finished meats. So that's the good part about street food, is like the cuts and all doesn't have to be perfect. You can do your own cuts. It could be butcher cut. It could be very well done, very fine, or it could be just chopped up and just thrown into the pot. So I like to scramble my eggs before I do anything else in the pan. So I'm gonna scramble my eggs first and have them sitting separately. Just waiting for the oil to kind of smoke up a little bit. So what you'll notice is like the egg will touch the pan on the bottom and kind of caramelize on the bottom. I don't mind it. It actually gives it extra crunchiness to the stir fry. Once you're doing a stir fry, you can add a little drop of water into it and it will deglaze the pan from the bottom. It actually gives more flavor to the stir fry. There's our scrambled egg. See the caramelization of the egg on the bottom of the floor? On the pan, I should say. Again, that's our meats right there with the recipe. So everything we need is on that pan. Again, it's a stir fry. There's measurements of oil on it, but that's just for reference. Stir fries, fried rice always needs more oil than you think. I mean, it's called fried rice for a reason. scallion goes in first before ginger and garlic paste. You just have to spread a little bit, not too long, just a little color. This shows you how to get your meats ready and everything in place before you go. Those are ginger garlic paste. It's quite easy to make. You can just dice ginger and garlic, put them in decent amount of salt, and let them sit for 12 hours minimum. And next day, just put it into a food processor, drizzle some oil into it, and you should have your ginger and garlic paste. Again, stir fry mix, nothing crazy, just water, chestnuts, broccoli, peppers, snap peas, and green peas, edamame beans as well. Really, whatever vegetables you like to put into it. Salt, pepper, and Sri Lankan spice mix. Again, spice mix is your choice. As you can see, I already have chili powder mixed into it. This is just my version of doing it. The proper recipe would be on our website or in the link below. I'll put 3 tablespoons. And we're going to saute them. Once you start smelling the spices, that's your cue to throw in your paratha. Now remember, if you want, you can add water to your parathas right now. It doesn't have to be a lot of water, it just needs to be just enough to coat or help the spices coat the paratha. Again, I actually don't mind my stir fry to be kind of touching the pan, sizzling off the pan. If I'm not hearing the sizzling noise, then I add a little bit more oil or fat into it. This helps it kind of stir fry. Then goes your scallions and your protein. Now again, this is not the traditional version that you will get in Sri Lanka from what I know, what I was told. And that's ready. You just fold in your eggs. That's the last step you want to do. I remember we used to work in Australia. The chefs would, there was only one chef that would actually make this all the time, and he used to really make it really spicy. So he would do like 2 versions where he would take his own out and serve us the rest, and then he'll add more chilies to his. He used to make really good chicken curry, I remember. and add a little extra chili powder to it because I like it really spicy. Beware, don't go crazy on the spiciness, especially in the summer. It might not be very healthy. So plate up. It's up to you how you want to plate it. I mean, you can serve it in a bowl. You can serve it in a little wok in a saucepan. I decided to do a little off center of plate up. I just use a cookie cutter to have everything. So again, for plate ups, you need to be very gentle with food, but very assertive at the same time. I know it makes no sense, but you need to be gentle and firm at the same time with the food. That's the best way I can explain it. I'm using my fingers here. You can use tongs. I had tongs in my kit, but my kit was in my car, so I didn't want to leave and go down to the basement and grab it. To finish, we're gonna serve a little ketchup on the side. And some chili oil. And it's ready to eat. That's shortbread Kotthu. This is my personal touch. I like to add a little ghee. Just a dollop. I would say like half a teaspoon. It helps you form it into a bowl. And again, I put it right on top of the Kotthu roti, but you could kind of put it on the side if you want. That's just how I like it. The ghee gives it a very extra nice flavor. You can even mount it with ghee on the pan itself. Our bartender Kevin is going to try it. So there's our recipe. Hope you liked it, and we'll cook it. Come visit us when we open. Stay safe. We'll share the recipe soon. I'll put the links on. If you like it, subscribe. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. We'll do our best to answer them. And stay safe until then, guys.